Hello and welcome back to KXXX. I am Connor Shuh, joined by Kansas Senator Jerry Moran. Senator, how are you doing today?
Connor, it's a good day. I'm in northwest Kansas. That puts me in a good mood, although there's certainly challenges for all of us wherever we live in Kansas.
Absolutely, and you got a chance to visit Rawlins County and Cheyenne County. How are your visits today?
Well, I'm away from Washington, D.C. because the Columbus Day holiday today, and I used it to get back to Kansas and get to northwest Kansas. And I'll leave early tomorrow morning, for a return to the nation's capital. But today I had the opportunity of visiting the Rawlins County Hospital in Atwood to talk health care, to go over some of the provisions of the big, beautiful bill, the reconciliation bill, and what impact it would have on Medicaid, particularly as it relates to the keeping our hospital doors open in Kansas. But I also had the opportunity to walk Main Street of Bird City and to visit with folks in McDonald, and then to visit Cheylin, the high school in Bird City, and to get a feel for what's going on with our next generation. The 16, 17, 18-year-old kids gave me a tour of their school, and we talked to teachers and the building principal to get a feel for education in small rural schools across Kansas. And happy to have all three of those occasions. I would tell you that, of course, in western Kansas and really throughout our state, the conversation often turns to agriculture, and it did today. Lots of concern about agricultural commodity prices, input costs, and the challenges we have, particularly with grain sorghum and other crops in Kansas where the markets are pretty minimal and the grain piles on the ground are growing.
Here, so I want to hit on, you visited Cheylin High School. How cool is it to connect with the youth of a small town in Kansas?
Well, I actually love this. I'm not sure I'm very good at it. My own kids are a bit older than that, and we have no parent-teacher conferences to go to anymore. And how do you relate to a 16, 17-year-old kid? And I use this as an opportunity to try to do that, to find out what's going on in their lives, what their plans are, how they think their education is treating them. And I can tell you at Cheylin, the students were really impressive. I enjoyed every moment. I met a dozen teachers and visited with them about their careers and what they're doing to help raise and educate our kids in Kansas. But I came away from Cheylin thinking that, yes, this is a small school, and maybe not all the things that are available in some larger school in Kansas is available to these kids, but there's also some other things that are really special about getting an education in a small high school. I loved every minute of it, and I've come away from there thinking that the future is pretty darn bright.
And yeah, like you said, that's got to make you feel confident about the future of all the kids in Kansas, from the rural areas to the more urban areas, and that's got to make you feel comfortable when you see that, right?
It does. I mean, my hometown is Plainville. Our high school probably has 35 kids in its senior class. I think in Cheylin maybe it was 11 in the senior class. But we're all in pretty much the same way out here. And I want those kids to have every opportunity to succeed, and we ought not be harmed in any way by growing up in rural Kansas. So it's a good thing. And education decisions are mostly made by local boards of education, by the state legislature, governor, and the state board of education. But I serve on a committee in Washington, D.C. that funds a number of things that impact schools in Kansas. And certainly the superintendents and principals always want to talk about some of those challenges that they face, and that'd be things like special education funding, what's called Title I funding. We also are paid for a portion of the nutrition programs, the school lunch program, transportation, and vocational education. And that's another point I'd make, is that we need more teachers, and there's a shortage, and we particularly need more teachers in the agricultural. I'm disappointed, and Cheylin is not an example. They have a new ag teacher, which they're very excited about, but too many rural schools in rural Kansas can't find a VOAG or an FFA sponsor, and that's a challenge we've got to meet.
Well, Senator, that's all incredibly important. Thank you so much for coming on and bringing light to that and talking a little bit about your experience today in Northwest Kansas.
It's my pleasure. And we also talked about healthcare in Rawlins County at the hospital and visited with nurses and healthcare providers. We want to make certain that those doors on all of our hospitals in Kansas remain open. And I actually think the reconciliation bill that receives so much attention on Medicaid is actually going to, in Kansas, provide additional resources, not fewer. And again, our rural communities rely upon senior citizens can't afford to live in a town in a community that doesn't have a physician and a pharmacy and a hospital, and our young families are probably not going to take the risk of raising their kids where those healthcare services are available. So a very high priority for me is trying to make sure that we do everything we can, that those doors remain open and the healthcare services are available to Kansans regardless of where they live.
Absolutely. Well, hey, that was Kansas Senator Jerry Moran. Thank you again for joining us here on KXXX.